All right, so would you like to know how much I made in Congress? I'm going to walk you through it right now. This has been something heavily discussed. As a matter of fact, it's heavily discussed by everyone about all members of Congress. I think it's a great topic. One of my favorite committees I served on in Congress was Oversight, and I love the transparency there. So we're going to talk about the congressional paycheck. And I'll be putting that up on the screen for you. And I'm actually using a pay stub that shows my entire pay for 1 year, the year of 2025. So you can see everything broken down. So this is really interesting. Okay, there's some things you already know. Most rank and file members of Congress get paid $174,000 a year. That was my salary as a member of Congress. Speaker of the House makes $223,500, and both majority and minority leaders make $193,400 a year. Those are set salaries. That was nothing that I had control over. That was already set. Now, here's something interesting. Congressional salaries have remained exactly the same since 2009. So Congress has voted every single year to freeze any type of cost of living adjustment called COLAs. So there has been no increase in members of Congress's salaries since 2009. Now, they did make a rule change, and it was bipartisan. Democrats and Republicans both agreed on something. And I guess I'll bring it up like this. You know, have you ever seen maybe you're a member of Congress looking completely disheveled on TV. Their hair's all messed up, their tie's all loose, their suit looks wrinkled, and you're like, good Lord, why do they look like that? Well, it's because many members of Congress sleep on their sofas and have slept on their sofas in their offices for years. So imagine you go visit your member of Congress and you go in there and have a meeting, if you've ever done that. Well, that very sofa that you're sitting on, it's very likely they slept on it the night before. And then where do they shower? They shower in the gym. Yep, they shower in the gym, the congressional gym, because you don't have showers in your office. So that, they were trying to put a stop to that. It's extremely expensive to pay for like 2 homes, to have, say, a home in your district where your family lives, and also to pay for an apartment or a home in Washington, D.C. So it was a bipartisan rule. Starting in 2023, members of Congress began getting reimbursed for housing and food and incidentals and parking. Now there's caps on that, and there's a lot of strict rules on it. And you can look all of this up. This has been covered in detail in a lot of stories in the press, and it's easily searchable on the internet. But that was a rule change. I got in Congress in January of 2021, so my first several years, everything I had to pay for out of pocket. But in 2023, they did make those reimbursements. So you'll see that on the screen when I put up my pay stub. A few other things I just wanted to cover real quick before we get there and talk about it. I will say the things allowed to be reimbursed were rental payments, utilities, home insurance, hotel stays, but not like mortgage principal and interest payments. Those are not eligible, and they had caps on food. So one other thing that you've probably never heard of is the MRA. That's the Members Representation Allowance. MRA covers office expenses. That did not pay it does not pay members of Congress. It pays our staff, pays for our district offices, everything from office supplies, the same expenses that you would pay if you're running a business. And if we go over it, we have to pay for it ourselves. So that's something very interesting. Also, lawmakers are heavily restricted. There are tons of rules on members of Congress on making extra money outside of our congressional salary. So you may not know this, but we have a strict cap. It's limited to 15% of the executive schedule level 3 rate. 15% the cap is for outside earned income. Members of Congress don't receive pay or bonuses for serving on committees. As a matter of fact, we had to pay the NRCC for our committee assignments. So if we got a high A committee, members of Congress are expected to pay anywhere from $700,000 up to $1 million of fees into the NRCC. Probably the same for the Democrats for the DCCC. but we didn't get paid to be on committee or chair committees. Okay, so let's dive in to this pay stub, which is, I think, interesting. I hope you'll find it interesting. And full transparency, I think you need to see exactly what a member of Congress gets paid. On the left-hand side, where you'll see the salary, one column amount, that's for the month. Second column year-to-date amount, that's $174,000. Also in that first amount column, it has the reimbursements for lodging, meals, and parking. Those are totaled there. And then they work out what the total income and taxable gross income is. Just to be clear, my congressional salary was $174,000, and you can see there where I got reimbursements for lodging, meals and incidentals, and parking. It's all there for you to look at. And now, let's talk about the other parts. Now, those were the total amounts. Let's talk about the deductions. Just like your paycheck, I had to pay federal taxes, and you can see there the amount taken per month was $3,574.65. Year-to-date amount for federal taxes was $35,749.45. So, as a member of Congress, I paid federal taxes just like you have to. Now, the other deductions are interesting. FICA MC is FICA Medicare. So, I had to pay, the FICA is for all of us, member of Congress, federal employee, military, private citizen. It's 1.45%. And you can see there, FICA MC, that's the 1.45% taken out of my paycheck, which totaled to $3,023.71 per year. Medicare is an entitlement program. Now, the next one, Georgia State, GAST, that's Georgia State taxes. As a resident of Georgia, on my paycheck there, I had to pay Georgia State taxes. And so that came to $865.55 a month, $9,173.78 a month that I had to pay to Georgia taxes. Here's something kind of interesting. Now, members of Congress that say we're from a state like Tennessee, just to the north of me, or Florida to the south of me, they don't have state income taxes. And so on their paycheck here, on their pay stub, they didn't have state taxes deducted out of their paycheck. So that's kind of interesting. Georgia has a lot of work to do for all of Georgia residents. We need to work on our Georgia state income taxes. Hey everyone, this is Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I have read so many stories online where people are using ivermectin cream 1.5% to get rid of all types of skin conditions. And so I ordered this ivermectin cream, it's 1.5%, from allfamilypharmacy.com, and Brian had this little spot on the side of his nose that no matter what we put on it, it would not go away, would it?
Yeah, and the dermatologist was like, it's something, we don't know what it is, but just keep moisturizer on it. The moisturizer didn't make it go away.
Nothing was making it go away.
But as soon as I started using this, I would probably say after the 4th day of putting it on once a day, it literally was going away.
Yes, and so it hasn't even been a week yet, and this little spot that he has on the side of his nose is nearly gone. And so I'm telling you this because it's really incredible, and there's so many great stories. People even treat skin cancer with ivermectin cream, and you can get yours at allfamilypharmacy.com/MTG. Use my promo code to get 10% off MTG10, promo code MTG10 at allfamilypharmacy.com/MTG. Now, the next one down is FICA OA. Kind of hilarious. FICA OA stands for FICA Old Age. That's actually Social Security. I don't know why they call it that. It's actually, well, I do. It's actually named after the law. So my total that I paid for the year to date in 2025 was $10,918.20. That's 6.2% of my paycheck, 6.2% of your paycheck. Everyone has to pay Social Security for federal taxes. Now, I think one thing you should know, guys, where Congress has some responsibility that they are falling flat on, is you're paying a total of FICA for Social Security and Medicare is 7.65%. So are members of Congress. However, the Social Security and Medicare accounts are going to be bankrupt in 2032. So call your member of Congress and say, hey, while we're all paying these entitlement taxes at 7.65% of everyone's paycheck, why don't you guys do something about it and stop it from going bankrupt in 2032, where Americans won't be receiving benefits that they actually had to pay for? That would be Congress that needs to do that, while Congress is paying taxes for it. Anyways, things that drive me crazy. Okay, the next one down. This is a big one. TSP. TSP. That is Thrift Savings Program. I'm sorry, Thrift Savings Plan. This is one I really want to tell you about. Now, this is a retirement savings and investment program for all federal employees, uniformed service members, and members of Congress and senators. So everyone, we're talking about your mailman to anybody in the forestry, any military member to members of Congress, have TSP retirement savings accounts. Now, what is it? It works like a private sector 401k, okay? That's what it is. And then you can choose your path, traditional or Roth. Now, here's what's really interesting. I personally would love to see TSP accounts probably replace your Social Security account, because the TSP account is a much better way for people to have savings. So this was something that was set up. The federal government matches the TSP contributions up to 5% of your basic pay. And so it's a program there for everyone. However, all Americans should have it. And as one member of Congress cannot make it happen. It takes 218 members of Congress and 60 senators to pass legislation to get to the president's desk in order to make this happen for all Americans. TSP. So you can see the amount that I contributed willingly out of my congressional paycheck there, because I do believe in investing for my retirement. And the TSP for the month was $1,709. For the year to date, $20,508. Health. What was I paying for health insurance? Okay. Bunch of people, I can read their comments now and trolling in the comments, and they would say, you got free health insurance. Well, no, actually I didn't. And federal employees don't get free health insurance. Well, you get free health insurance for life. No, actually I don't. I don't even have health insurance right now because I think it's so incredibly expensive. As a member of Congress, the health insurance plan that I paid for, and you can see it right here out of my pay stub here, $409.70 a month, $7,499.81 per year. And that would vary. That's not for every member of Congress. That varies depending on their plan, just like it does for you. So if a member of Congress has a large family, a bunch of kids, they're going to be paying a lot more for health insurance. If it's a single member of Congress, like me, I'm paying a lot less for health insurance. So what is FERS Fray? Okay, FERS Fray, lastly, is the Federal Employee Retirement System Further Revised Annuity Employees. In other words, it's the federal pension program that is for all federal employees. It's for everyone, members of Congress, senators, everyone. Now, by law, we all have to participate. And so I came into Congress in 2021. And so by law, the law that they put in place way before me, they took out, it was mandatory for me, and required a contribution of 4.4% of my salary for FERS Fray, that I could not opt out and say I'm not going to participate. It was an automatic deduction from my salary. Now, it's interesting though, federal employees and members of Congress and so forth that were hired before 2013 only pay 0.8%. That's it. That's the only amount that's taken out of their paycheck. I don't know why they didn't adjust it the same for everyone. So either way, 4.4% of my salary, which came to $638 a month. $7,656 was a mandatory amount deducted and put into the pension program, which is interesting enough. I can't receive the pension until I'm 62 years old. I'm 52 now, so that's 10 more years. And when I am eligible for it, I'll be paid $725 a month after it was deducted for $638 a month. So just wanted to explain that. That's also something easily searchable. Other things that apply to members of Congress, things like the Stock Act of 2012. This is the law in place that's very strict about stock trading. It was put in place to prevent insider trading. So what is it like as a member of Congress if you have investments? So I had a fiduciary agreement with my broker, and that agreement meant that I was not allowed to direct any of my trade or have knowledge of them. And so he did a phenomenal job conducting all my trades for me. And then once trades are made, we had to report them directly by law, by the Stock Act, and report these transactions through our FEC and through our financial disclosure reports. And so that's something I'm really proud. I think as a member of Congress, I reported my trades faster than pretty much everybody. And they are reported in very big amounts. So let's say if you buy, I don't know, $1,000 in stock and you have to report it within a grouping that's, say, 1,000 to 5,000. So you may only own $1,000 of stock, but it's reported that you own up to $5,000 in stock. And so people total this up and it makes it look a lot more than it is. However, the reports are all there. They're all public and everybody can look them up. And you can also look up what is the Stock Act of 2012 to understand the rules themselves. And so, and one more thing. Oh, I also co-sponsored the bill. I guess it was the bill. I think it was Anna Paulina Luna or Tim Burchett's bill. I can't remember whose it was, to ban insider trading in Congress. So incredibly important. However, I would add one more thing. That bill should include the executive branch. And I think that's something that a lot of people are seeing in the news. The president, the vice president, anyone in the executive branch, secretaries of departments, none of them should be excluded from this bill or any law that's passed to stop stock trading by members of Congress. So if members of Congress can't trade stocks and senators can't trade stocks, then neither should the president or the vice president or secretaries of departments. So, by the way, in the executive branch, that's where all the government contracts are signed, not in Congress. So I think that's interesting, and if everybody thinks about that a little bit, they might fully understand what that means. All right, so that is the congressional paycheck. I hope it made sense. I hope you guys can understand and see how members of Congress are paid, and see how the totals work out. So you can see, just to follow up and finish, my net pay for the year, year to date, after taxes, after deductions for federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security, Medicare, the TSP account, health insurance, the mandatory pension, all of that, after all those deductions, the take-home pay was $79,471.05 for the year, which averaged to be about $6,974.62 per month. So that's what members of Congress have basically for all their living expenses, mortgages back home in their district, car payments, homeowners insurance, kids' schools, clothes, supplies, groceries, and all of that stuff. That's what they have to take care of their family, maybe get a vacation in once a year, and that's how it works out. So now that you know how the congressional paycheck is broken down, I hope I've cleared up any misconceptions or myths that people maybe didn't know or did know. And this is also a good conversation. You can call your representative and you can call your senator and talk about it with them if you like. But most of all, here's what I would encourage you to do. Call them up and tell them you want your Social Security money that you have paid in protected, and you would like it transferred to a TSP account. And that's what you deserve. You deserved a thrift savings plan, just like federal employees, just like our great military service members, just like members of Congress and senators. So that's what would work out great, and I would love to see that happen for everyone.